This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Hey, everybody. It is the After Party Live on a Friday, a Tim Sika Friday. I'd love to have him along, and we'll get to him in just a minute. He's got a great classic movie recommendation this week, and he has watched all the movies, and he is ready to lay down the law as far as what's good and what is not good. So we will get to that in just a moment. Thank you guys for popping over here. We are now here on the After Party Live. I know, it's good. We are at 2,521 subscribers. Thank you to those who have shared the show and who continue to click the like button, who comment in, as we say, after hours trading to keep this show being passed around. Very, very appreciative of all of your efforts to keep this show rolling. And now, without further ado, you know we all look forward to this one every week. It is At the Movies with the Tim Sika. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Kim. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Busy week.
Oh,
I'm going to try to relax a little this weekend if I can make some time to do that, but we'll see.
Just the sound of your voice is relaxing. I'm looking at the picture of all the movies on the beach there.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna pick a blow up cushion and get a cozy blanket and settle in on the beach. And we're gonna look at the screen. You're gonna tell me all of the good things. That's what's gonna happen.
Okay, I'll do my best.
And the bad things. You'll tell me the bad things too, I guess. The first movie you have for us today is called The Smashing Machine. And I looked at this movie poster and I think Dwayne The Rock looks like very different with hair.
Yes,
It creeps me out a little bit.
Yeah, he does look different, and he is sort of unrecognizable, and I'll talk about that. But this is the Smashing Machine. It's a metaphor for him and his character. And it's, this is so unoriginal. I want to say it's a smashing movie, right? It's a smashing sports docudrama, I guess is the best way to describe it. And it's directed by Benny Safdie of the brother filmmaking team of the Safdie brothers, the elder brother being Josh. But this is Benny's solo directorial debut, sans his brother. So that's interesting. But the movie itself, the story, which takes place between 1997 and 2000. It's based on the true story of this guy. His name is Mark Kerr, who was a mixed martial arts champion fighter. That's the no holds barred fighting, where the fists are smashing faces into bloody pulps. The kind of fighting where it's all real. It's not faked. It's really violent and really nasty. Anyway, the movie stars, as you mentioned, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is Mark Kerr. Unquestionably his best screen performance, and certainly one in which any traces of his previous and popular screen persona have been totally erased. In fact, he's almost unrecognizable. I remember when the movie started, and it said, starring Dwayne Johnson and stuff, and I'm waiting 10 minutes before I realize, oh my God, that's The Rock. Wow. You can't, and they did such a good job with makeup and transforming his very familiar visage, with the bald head and all, into one resembling the real Mark Kerr.
Yeah.
Now, I should also point out that this movie is based on another movie, a documentary with the same title called The Smashing Machine, The Life and Times of Extreme Fighter Mark Kerr, which I haven't seen. So, I'm wondering if I had seen it, if this dramatic version, or rather this dramatic retelling, I would have found necessary or maybe even significantly adding to this man's story, but be that as it may. And never having seen the doc before, I thought this was a good movie. I thought it was an interesting story about this guy, Mark Kerr, and his personal life. His wife here is played by Emily Blunt, and she's always great, and she's fantastic here.
An odd pairing, though, The Rock and Emily Blunt.
It is an odd pairing, and I wonder, how that looked on paper. But they play this couple. It's kind of a dysfunctional couple, but they have great chemistry together. They play off each other very well, and the casting is great. But anyway, I enjoyed how it's a story about this guy who's driven to succeed at all costs in what just has got to be one of the most killing, literally, sports competitions ever devised, and one I think that's banned in a lot of countries, and there's folks trying to even get it banned in countries where it's still allowed because it's so, I mean, oh God, I mean, yeah, the way they bash each other. I'm surprised that participants aren't killed during this, because they're punched in the face over and over, and then they punch them in the neck, and then they kick them in the, it's off anyway. But interesting story about the psychology of this guy, how driven he is, and how, because of the extreme violence of this sport, he becomes invariably or inevitably addicted to painkillers, and how he extricated himself from that addiction and still managed to compete. It's just a very interesting, well-told tale. And a side note here, I'm a film geek, so I loved the look of the film. It's kind of like a ragtag, low-budget, fly-on-the-wall style. It's like it's a narrative film, but it's also kind of placed like a documentary kind of thing. It's got this, I think that's why docudrama is the best way to describe it. Sure. And I understand that they actually shot large portions of it on 16mm film with VHS cameras to give it that look. So yeah, absorbing sports drama that's really much more about sports and much more about the sport, against which is its backdrop. Yeah, and I also worth re-emphasizing here, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He's a revelation in this movie. Wow. He's quite good, and depending on how they want to position this film, I could see him even being, and considering what the other competition is, I could see him being positioned for Best Actor awards this year. He's that good in this movie.
Well, that's a long way from, the Disney character we know, where he's the captain of the Jungle Cruise boat with a smirk and a sarcastic.
Yeah. And in movies like The Tooth Fairy.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Hey, and there's a place for all of that. Those are fun family movies, but
Yeah, no, but he really takes a stretch in this movie and does so very successfully. And like I say, you forget. You forget, once you remember that, hey, oh yeah, that's The Rock. I can't believe it. Yeah. He's so good in the role, you forget that that's The Rock, and you believe him as this character, Mark Kerr. Yeah, excellent performance. Excellent performance.
I looked up while you were talking the fatalities in mixed martial arts contest.
Oh no. Yeah, and what does it say?
According to Wikipedia, if it's to be believed, as of 2023, there have been 20 recorded deaths resulting from sanctioned mixed martial arts contests, 9 from unregulated bouts, but none in the largest MMA promotion, which is the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Wow. That's what, 2 years? Yeah. How many? Oh my gosh.
Well, as of 2023. So from 2023 and before, but not in the last couple of years. So as of 2023.
That's still too many. That's still too many. Yeah. But I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised at all. It's like, yeah. Or the guys that survive after literally being pummeled in the face until their face is literally a bloody pulp. What that doesn't do to their brains. Yikes. I mean, let alone their the way their face is composed. No. And I had to look away a couple times because I thought, oh my God, this is really bloody. But it's a very good film. Very good film.
Let us move on to Orwell.
Yes. Now, actually, I'm unsure whether the official name for this next movie is Orwell or Orwell. Wait, yeah, it's in the poster. Orwell 2 + 2 = 5. Okay, I think that's the full name, but that makes sense. Although it's a weird movie. I mean, you're going to ask your friend, hey, what are you going to do this weekend? Oh, I'm going to go see Orwell 2 + 2 = 5. And they're going to go, what? Anyway, but it makes sense because of what the movie is about. But in any event, this is a documentary. It's directed by Raoul Peck, and it follows the life and career of writer George Orwell and how his political observations are upsettingly relevant to present day in our current times. I mean, talk about prescient, particularly the lessons from the novel 1984 that he famously was the author of. Anyway, British actor Damian Lewis narrates the film. He does the voice of George Orwell, and it's just the words of Orwell. And what it is It's excellent, but to be perfectly honest, also perfectly depressing. This is a depressing movie. It's because
Oh.
it's an anatomy of fascism and how
Mhm.
fascism grows. That very effectively, what it does, Kim, is it juxtaposes Orwell's words, mostly the words of from 1984, with current world political movements and news footage, many scenes from Irish socialist filmmaker Ken Loach's films. And when pairing Orwell's words with what's going on in the world today, with an emphasis on the US, well, I mean, it's like one nightmare scenario after another. I mean, several nightmare
Oh.
scenarios after another. So it's sobering, to say the
Mhm.
least. And what are we reminded here? Some of the things that we're reminded of here, that the very concept of objective truth is fading from our
Mhm.
world, that social media is turning our world topsy-turvy because it spreads lies, or it seems to spread lies faster than facts, while amplifying people's fear and people's anger, fueling hatred by design for profit. Uh,
Mhm.
how newspeak, which is newspeak being how would I defined as language used to alter reality and manipulate, how it's just being used now in media, and that the media is just picking up on the administration. Just for an example, this current administration, presidential administrations, um, they're reporting it, so it's like it's becoming common and accepted. Like when they say vocational training center, what they are really saying is concentration camp. Or when they say legal use of force, that's
Right.
code for police brutality, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a depressing film. But it's a must-see film. It's a bit long,
Mhm.
at a minute under 2 hours, but I think it's a must-see film for everybody, especially given our current criminally corrupt presidential administration. I
So
mean, yeah,
you say that it is, excellent, but also depressing, and I really don't like a depressing movie. I kind of find reality depressing enough, and I wanna be carried away, but I would say a movie
right.
like this, especially for people who
Yeah,
somehow just don't get it, may
yeah,
be exactly what the doctor ordered to sober us
exactly.
all up and really shine a light for people that are not, like, that are not paying attention.
Yeah, I would suspect, like, you watching it. I mean, none of it would be unfamiliar to
Right.
you because of
Yeah.
all the political
I'm
things that you
already on board.
traffic in. You're already
Yeah,
on board,
yeah.
and you would go, yeah, yeah. And it's
They don't need to
but
tell
really,
me. Right.
no, no. But at 2 hours, it's like, geez. I mean, it's just it's powerful, but
Mhm.
it ain't a fun night at the movies.
Mm.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Well, let's hope someone that needs to see this gets put in front of it.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. I agree. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let us move on away from the, politicos to
Polit.
this
Oh,
movie,
yeah.
Anemone.
Anemone. Okay,
Anemone.
I'm anemone.
Anemone.
Yeah, anemone, which is anemone is like it's what is it? It's okay. Yeah, it's this genius of flowering plants or something. But okay, now okay, I'm going to try and be objective here, but that's probably I
Okay.
won't be. Anyway, this is a movie I should have loved. It had all the earmarks of where my taste in film is, but
Mhm.
I found this movie to be I'm just going to say it. I found it to be a colossal bore. Um, it's a story about reconnection and healing. Daniel Day-Lewis stars. It's his first film in like 7 or 8 years. He's one of our great actors. It's
Mhm.
directed by his son, Ronan Day-Lewis, who's making his movie debut.
Mhm.
And the premise is that one brother, played by Sean Bean, visits his estranged brother, uh, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, and who
Mhm.
lives virtually like a hermit in the woods, to convince him to come home and rejoin the family. That's basically the premise. But when watching this movie, I couldn't help but be reminded of what actor Gary Oldman once said about the Golden Globe Awards. He called them a 2-hour wank.
Oh.
Well, delete 2 hour and replace that with 2 hour and 6 minute, and you have. I know
Mhm.
this is such a cheap shot, but you have a good description of this movie. It's
Yeah.
remarkably dull. It's tedious. It's very self-conscious, it's dramatically inert, and it's just an unmitigated bore. I barely got through it. It was 2 hours and 6 minutes long for one. And I will say its heart is in the right place. I mean, it's really about the emotional complexities between fathers and sons and brothers. And I like that about it, but it suffers from first-time director things that they fall into. I mean, meaning
Oh.
that there's an aura of self-importance about it that just gets in the way of it being just remotely entertaining. I mean, it wants to impress you with its camera angles and its close-up shots of like things like flowers and buttercups and beef stew. And I mean, instead of trying to involve you, and as a result, it kept me constantly at arm's length, despite the brilliance of its lead actor, Daniel Day-Lewis. This is the worst movie featuring a great performance I think I have ever seen. And I don't want to go on kicking a dead horse, so I'm just going to say outright that if any of what I've said sounds potentially interesting to anybody watching or listening, go see this movie. But if you're asking me, I say avoid it at all costs. You know,
Recommend it.
the other thing too, when I was watching this movie, the great filmmaker, indie filmmaker Paul Schrader once was asked, like, well, what in an interview, I think he was asked, like, what does he do if he has trouble falling asleep at night? And he responded by saying something to the effect that he just puts on a boring movie, right?
Yeah.
Well, if Paul Schrader, if you're listening, Paul, put this one at the top of your list. The next time you have trouble falling asleep, I guarantee it'll work its magic no more than 5 or 10 minutes into it. I swear. I know I'm being so cavalierly dismissive about this movie, but no, really, I should have loved this movie, but it was like, I wanted to scream. I said it all. I said I didn't want to go on kicking a dead horse, so I shall stop. Yeah, I shall
Let
stop.
us move on over to this one. It's called Plain Clothes. Kind of a poster that's very dark and hard to see what's going on.
Yeah, well, this is an indie drama. It's an acclaimed Sundance Film Festival psychological drama. It's set in 1990s New York. It's about again, yeah, I'm using that word interesting a lot, but this is an interesting movie. It's about a working class undercover officer played by Tom Bly. I don't know which one he is in the picture because I can't tell, but he's tasked. Part of his job is entrapping and apprehending gay men cruising for sex in public restrooms, only to find himself attracted to one of his targets, played by Russell Tovey. So he's closeted. He's gay himself. So, and next to The Smashing Machine and Orwell, I think this may be
does he only figure this out when he's in the bathroom checking things out? Is that like, is it a revelation?
Yeah. It's. I think in some ways this may be the best film of the week because it's a feature film directorial debut for this guy named Carmen Emmy. And how to sum it up without going into the weeds here. It's an intriguing thriller, for one. In addition to being a fascinating psychological study, it's quietly intense, it's deeply atmospheric, and it explores the gray zones of, I don't know, authority and identity, and mostly the cost of living a secret life, really. And in a time when questions, particularly about policing, staying true to yourself and personal accountability are more urgent, in my opinion, than ever before, this movie offers a kind of a gripping, intimate look at one man's grappling with secrecy, with silence, and his own moral conflict. So very interesting movie, and a story that stays with you, not just for its storytelling expertise, but for the nuanced questions that it leaves when the end credits roll. It gives you a lot to think about. So it's a very good film, Plain Clothes, and it opens in theaters today in the Bay Area. Yeah.
Tim Sika's classic movie recommendation of the week is called
The Heiress.
The Heiress.
The Heiress. William Wow's The Heiress. This is an absolutely magnificent motion picture drama.
They tell you right on the poster, it's a truly great motion picture.
They do? Oh, really? It says that? Oh my God.
Look at the top. A truly great motion picture.
It's so funny. Yeah, maybe that's where I got it subconsciously or something. But anyway, it's based on Henry James's 1881 novel, which was called Washington Square, which then became a very successful Broadway play. and it's a template. Oh wow, yeah, it's a template example of great classic movie storytelling, great classic movie direction, and great classic movie acting. The picture there that we see is it's Montgomery Clift with Olivia de Havilland, who is so great in this movie. Anyway, the story takes place circa 1850, and it stars Olivia de Havilland in arguably her greatest role, and one for which she earned her second Best Actress Academy Award. She won 3 years earlier for a picture called To Each His Own, but in The Heiress, she plays a plain looking daughter of a wealthy widow doctor who's played by Sir Ralph Richardson, who, for the most part, treats his daughter with derision and contempt and cruelty under the guise that he's protecting her from the evils of the world because she's so plain and so naive and so socially awkward. But anyway, one day she receives some unexpected attention from a very handsome and charming suitor at this ball, played by Montgomery Clift, who's on the right there. But when her father gets wind of this news, he treats it with disdain because he claims that this guy is just after her for her money because, well, nobody, well, no man certainly could ever really be interested in a woman that looks and acts like his daughter. So that's when the plot really thickens and kicks in what is, in my opinion, one of the all-time great movie dramas, and a film that I think, I don't know if anybody talks about this film in film schools or anything, but I think it should be watched and studied in film schools because it's a film the likes of which if anybody out there who is a young encouraging filmmaker, I encourage you to study this work because let's just say that there's so many lessons to be learned by any movie directed by the great William Wyler, who directed this one, who helmed this project, with his usual filmmaking aplomb and skill and effective ways to tell movie stories, of which I think most young filmmakers today, they appear to me clueless. I wonder how many of them have really studied the classics, but that's a whole nother conversation. But this is a movie that's about revenge. It's about taking control when being oppressed. And there's this theme of deep hatred running through the narrative and the ramifications of those emotions and actions that are driven by those emotions and those behaviors and those states of mind. So it's a great, great movie. There's not a wrong note in it. It's great story, great screenplay, great direction, great acting, and the production and costume design also won Oscars. And in addition, for music fans out there, there's a fabulous score by the great and influential classical composer Aaron Copland that really, gives this movie juice. And he also won an Academy Award for that music that year, 1949. So anyway, it's one of the all-time superlative Hollywood dramas, and it's streaming for a nominal rental fee on Amazon Prime. I encourage everybody to check this one out. It's fantastic.
You have my interest piqued with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Oh, I would say, if I had to guess, I'd say you'll really dig it. I mean, you'll really like it. Yeah.
This scene with the globe light and her going up the stairs, it almost looks like a
horror movie. Or a mystery, almost like a horror movie. I mean, de Havilland is so brilliant in this part because she goes from this like docile, totally closed off, like even in her body language, she's just so like she's afraid to even like lift her head up, to this, oh man, I mean, does she ever get revenge on what has been done to her all her life? And it's almost, in a way, I mean, it's not like a Hallmark card for revenge, but it explains like why somebody would seek that kind of revenge, given her upbringing and what she was subjected to all her life. And de Havilland is so magnificent. I can watch this movie over and over again, and I have. And every time I watch her performance, I see a new subtle nuance that I never saw before. It's amazing, and she's brilliant in the role.
Sometimes people like me that might not take revenge in real life find the
Yeah.
revenge in the movies deliciously satisfying, you know?
Satisfying.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
I agree. Yeah, it's almost like, oh man, this feels so good. I
yeah,
know I shouldn't think that it's a good thing, but oh good. I'm glad they're doing it on
yeah.
screen and I don't have to do it because I might do it, you know, if given the chance.
I like to
Yeah.
think about doing it, but I never really would do it.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
do the recap,
exactly.
my
Okay.
friend. The Smashing Machine with The Rock. You said this one's based on a true story, and it is, you say, The Rock's best screen performance to date. He looks very different. It is an interesting story, great casting, good movie. The Rock you called a revelation in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you said award-worthy performance
Yeah.
from this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Orwell 2 plus 2 equals 5. You said it's excellent and depressing, but it's an anatomy of fascism. I love how you put that. You said it takes Orwell's words, compares the words to current events and news footage. You call this movie sobering.
Yeah.
Anemone. You
Anemone. Okay,
Anemone.
now I gotta hear you say my words back to me. Oh yeah, yeah,
Anemone.
yeah.
Tim should have liked this movie, but Tim found it to be a colossal bore. You said it was tedious and self-conscious, and you barely got through it. You
Yeah,
said it's heart's in the right place, but it has an air of self-importance and all the first-time director silliness that really just kept you away from connecting with this movie. You
yeah,
do not recommend
yeah.
Anemone.
Say
No,
that 10 times fast.
Anemone.
I do
Go ahead.
not recommend an anemone. Yeah.
Plain Clothes. This is a drama about a closeted undercover officer that has to go and trap men in bathrooms that are looking for same-sex loving. You called it the best movie of the week. You
Yeah,
said it's an
yeah,
intriguing thriller, intense, looks at the cost of living a secret life, and the story, you said, it stays with you. And there's a lot to think about this with this movie. You recommend Plain Clothes. And Tim's classic movie recommendation of the week is The Heiress from 1949. Yeah.
How many
You
years
said
is that?
that's a long ass time.
Long ass time.
Yeah. And I always love to think about what was going on in 1949. We had just come out of the war,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
just a few years before. Yeah, a few years
Yeah.
later.
So that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
kind of like where people were reeling probably still from all that.
Could be.
Um
Yeah.
I don't know. You said this is a great classic movie, storytelling, acting, production, costume design, the score, all of it awesome. That it may be Olivia de Havilland's best role, one of the all-time great movie dramas. People should be studying this one in film school. You said it's streaming on Amazon Prime for a fee. It is The Heiress from 1949, our classic movie recommendation of the week. Look at that.
Excellent,
Timbo.
excellent, Kim.
Yay!
Yeah, yeah, we did it again. Another week has gone by and we did it again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you, Tim Sika, for coming through with the goods. I appreciate you.
Well, you're welcome, Tim McAllister, and talk to you next week.
At the movies with Tim Sika. Always love to see Tim. And I forgot to go through the chat with him. I love when he's able to comment on things. Heather says, yeah, I love me a good revenge movie, right? Because it's one of those things that lets you kind of put yourself, almost visualize yourself in that character's role. Like, oh yeah, I'm getting revenge. Oh, love that. So yeah, that looks like a horror scene. It really did, but it piqued my interest and made me want to see the movie. And I'm not even a horror movie fan, but that is a huge cameo Olivia is wearing. I thought that too, but somehow she pulls it off and makes it look really good. Here it is. Check out that necklace. That's a big necklace. Perhaps it has some type of tie-in to the story. We have to watch to find out, right? Yeah. Yvonne says, still remember Carol Burnett's Gone with the Wind skit, Dinah Shore, as Olivia's character. Olivia lived in Saratoga in the Bay Area. I did not know that. That is really interesting. Murphy says her son lived and worked in Sunnyvale at Lockheed Martin. Look at you guys with your local knowledge. I love it. Liz loves Olivia de Havilland. Absolutely. Zero Sum says, I always am interested in movies that get bad reviews from good movie reviewers. Really? I trust Tim. Like if Tim tells me stay away, skip it. I barely got through it. I'm like, well, if Tim barely got through it, there's no way I'm going to get through it. Put it on the list. No, thank you. Murphy says, great description, Tim. That makes sense, but I don't know exactly what movie you were talking about during that moment. So, but yes, Tim makes often sense to me. So there you go. Thank you they've been pushing Anemone on NPR. Well, you know the truth. You heard it here. Don't let them push it your way. Don't do it. On the Orwell movie, Nullifidian says the people who need to watch it won't watch it. I don't know. Who knows? You never know when someone's going to click on something, right? Maybe they won't go see it in the movie, but maybe they'll click on it and all of a sudden things will start clicking in their brain. Perhaps. I don't know. Or was a prophet, says Tammy. Thank you guys for all of the great comments. You will always find Tim Sika here on Fridays at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. And then afterward, I pull his segment and put it as a standalone. So if you're just looking for Tim's reviews, you can get all of that. Click on the videos section on YouTube, and you'll find the whole list of Tim's videos. In the description, I have all the movies listed that he reviews for a certain week, so you can kind of scroll through and pick out the ones you're interested in hearing what he had to say about them. So there you go. That is At the Movies with Tim Sika. All right, let's move on to some other stories. I have this one about the black swan. It reminded me of the black sheep of the family. This is a mean bird. She's a mean girl. We don't know if she's a girl, but she's mean. Mean. So mean that this town in England is excommunicating this swan from the local pond. The swan took up residence in this British town, the town of Stratford-upon-Avon, and was trying to drown some of the native mute swans in the pond. This, by the way, this town, Stratford-upon-Avon, is where William Shakespeare hailed from. And at the start, the native people were excited to see this black swan. They thought, oh, this is cool. It's a native of Australia. And it was back in the town, and they thought, oh, this is great. And at first, this black swan got along with the other birds, and they started calling him Reggie, gave him a name, gave him a little love. Everyone was coming to Stratford to see this black swan. On one hand, they say it was great. On the other hand, it caused a little bit of nervousness because they didn't want him to settle in, and they didn't want it to get too familiar with the mute swans. So the swan warden renamed the visitor Mr. Terminator after the black swan started to show his true nature. They said in the evening time, this black swan had a whole different side to it. It was a nightmare. An absolutely ruddy nightmare. The swan would attack the native male swans and then try to mate with the females. Violence, trying to drown them. Quite horrendous, really, they say. And it's natural, you know. These animals are wild animals. They're not ornaments. So town officials had to go in because of the violence and the chaos and find a new home for the swan at the Dawlish Waterfowl Center in Devon, England, where now this black swan, Mr. Terminator, also known as Reggie, will be among other black swans. But it was not an easy transfer. Mr. Terminator went down fighting. They said, this particular fellow was not impressed. I managed to get it out of the water, and it fought like tooth and nail. The decision to relocate the swan kind of dividing the community. Some people are like, why? We love the black swan. Why would you remove him? Why are you doing this? And the man who had to take him away said, I'll be well known as the man who took away the black swan. He said, listen, I've learned my lesson with black swans. I've learned my lesson with the fact that once they come, they're going. Poor Reggie, poor Terminator. Was he just doing what black swans do? Or is he the black sheep of the family? Look at that cool picture of an iguana. Almost looks like a chameleon, but that's a Fijian banded iguana. And now scientists are saying that iguanas from California possibly rafted all the way to Fiji. I mean, you know, can you see them on little rafts they've created sailing away in the ocean blue? you know. Several scientists at UC Berkeley and USF, University of San Francisco, yeah, and UC Berkeley, say this might explain what is a mystery that has kind of stumped evolutionary biologists since the 70s. There's a study done in March of this year by a USF professor that says it's possible that this group of iguanas may have hailed from arid regions like Southern California and Northern Mexico, and perhaps hitched a ride on vegetation rafts all the way to Fiji millions of years ago. And maybe that explains their genetic presence on the scattering of islands in Fiji, which is more than 8,000 kilometers away. As scientists were aware of their presence on the islands for decades, but no one could figure out how in the world did they get here. So they did some DNA sequencing in this study, and they were doing it for other projects. But while they were DNA sequencing, they realized the Fijian iguanas were really closely related to the iguanas of California. And they said that was a really big surprise. And that lizards have done things like this on occasion. That iguanas seem to be one of the groups of lizards that are best suited for it because they're cold blooded, ectothermic, so they don't need to constantly eat and drink in order to survive. The juveniles will often get by on small insects. They and they say ocean locomotives, which are usually made of down trees or vegetation, might even have already had food aboard. They're large, hardy creatures. They have lots of body mass to fall back on during a long seafaring journey. The desert iguanas, seen roaming through North America, are lean and beige, resembling the color scheme of their habitat. The Fijian iguanas are bright emerald green, as you see here, and they're bigger. They're 7.5 inches. So looks like maybe, yeah, they have some visual differences. In 1995, there was a hurricane in the Caribbean, and people reported seeing iguanas rafting on downed vegetation. And right after that, these lizards colonized an island that they had never been to before, and they interbred with a critically endangered population. So perhaps that's what happened in Fiji as well. Yeah, there may be rafters. Hey, gotta survive, right? Might as well. Imagine them sailing on a downed tree across the ocean. This I found interesting. Here's this bird. This is a bearded vulture. Look at the cool red eyes and the orangish beard. A beautiful bird. This is one of the few species that they have multi-generational nests. These vulture nests are passed down from parent to child. And so one of these nests is about 700 years old. In it, researchers found 700 years of human artifacts because, birds collect whatever they can find to make their nests, and they have to keep the nest up over time. And often they'll collect the items in the environment around them, and that includes human items as well. The nests are often built in rocky shelters, in cliff caves, and they're shared for generations. If they're well protected from the elements, a bearded vulture nest can host these animals for multiple centuries. And they're not picky about their building materials. This article out of Popular Science says objects made by humans, including paper litter, plastic bags, often find their way into the nest. And that means that the people can also find in one of these nests a bit of a human time capsule as well. So researchers in Spain determined some of these accumulated artifacts are almost 700 years old. They did a study published in the journal Ecology, and they found that even though The bearded vultures, which are still alive in some areas of Europe, they disappeared from southern Spain between 70 and 130 years ago, but their nests are still around. And over 6 years, this team went to 12 of these long abandoned nests. Among eggshells, prey remains, and natural nesting material, the researchers identified 226 objects, 226, that were either made or altered by humans. Here's a picture of some of the things that they found in the nests. What we got is weaponry like a crossbow bolt, wooden lance, decorated sheep leather, parts of a slingshot. They used carbon dating and determined that these items had a huge age range. A shoe made from twigs and grass is about 675 years old. A basket estimated to have been woven 150 years ago. Archaeologists cataloged more than 2,100 bones, 86 hooves, 43 eggshells, 11 hair remains among the nesting layers. And so they're going to do a deeper analysis in looking at the surrounding area's past environment, its flora and fauna. They said thanks to the solidarity of bearded vulture nest structures and their locations in the Western Mediterranean, they've acted as natural museums, conserving historical material in actually kind of good condition. Unfortunately, right now, the bearded vulture is in dire condition because of climate crisis concerns. It is Europe's most threatened vulture. Only 309 breeding pairs are documented across the continent. And they say without effective conservation work, the last bearded vulture nests may include some of the very human artifacts that explain their extinction. What a story. That one out of Popular Science if you want to go read a little bit more about it. Oh, this guy, I'm calling him Quicksand Guy. He got himself into quite a situation. What we have here is a situation. This happened in Maine. This hunter had to be rescued after getting stuck in quicksand-like mud all the way up to his waist. He was duck hunting in coastal Maine, and it happened Wednesday afternoon near Wharton's Point on Maquot Bay in southern Maine. 31-year-old guy had been standing on the embankment over the area's mud flats and started to walk across the mud to retrieve some of the ducks that he had taken out when he suddenly sank. He was unable to move. The more he struggled, the deeper he became. He was able to call 911, and they sent out police who rescued him using a boat. You see here, a rescue boat. Took 2 officers to pull and break the suction in order to free this hunter who was taken to the hospital because of the amount of time he was exposed to the ocean water. And this has a big warning coming from local police. They say, listen, people, the mudflats along the coast are really unstable, and they often contain something called honeypots, pockets of quicksand-like mud, which cannot be seen until it is too late. The more a person moves, the deeper they become. In addition to rescuing the hunter, the police also nabbed the ducks that he had shot before he got stuck in the water. Guy's okay. Ducks are not. But God forbid anybody else gets stuck in that. That's horrible. Not the most uplifting story for Friday, but did you know we had glaciers in California? Yeah, I didn't. Maybe you did. You probably did. I know you guys. I didn't know. Apparently, we're not going to have them for that much longer, so don't worry about it. For the first time in human history, according to SF Gate, California's glaciers will soon disappear. Is there a sayonara sucker in the house? Yeah, I know it's sad. The glaciers are in the High Sierra, and they've been here for thousands of years, since the end of the last ice age. Yeah, there's a new study published this week, finding the glaciers have existed in the Sierra Nevada since the Ice Age and for thousands of years before humans ever even set foot in North America. Within the last 2 centuries, California's glaciers have melted away to fractions of the size they once were. And so a study was done, and scientists are projecting that California's glaciers will disappear entirely between 2050, which is pretty soon, and 2100. They write in SF Gate that humans have never before experienced an ice free Sierra Nevada, but that day is coming soon. Lead author of the study said, when these glaciers die off, we will be the first humans to see ice-free peaks in Yosemite. The climate change is causing glaciers to melt across the American West. Many of the smaller glaciers are expected to melt away by 2100. And here in California, scientists have been documenting the shrinking glaciers in the Sierra Nevada. Even John Muir started looking at the Lyell Glacier, which was the largest in Yosemite at the time, about 150 years ago. He was tracking the movement of this glacier by placing stakes in the ice. Today, that glacier is severed. It has 2 lobes remaining. Yeah. We don't even know at this point if we can call it a glacier. It really doesn't look like it once did. We are in California, crossing a line in the sand, according to researchers. We are entering uncharted territory. Humans here have not seen Yosemite National Park without glaciers before. So, scientists at the National Park Service have been keeping watch over the Yosemite glaciers in the High Sierra, documenting the ice as it exposes more and more of the rock underneath it. One of the 4 of the largest glaciers, I should say. They're the largest and the oldest glaciers in the Sierra Nevada. It's Conness, McClure, which you see here, the McClure Glacier, Lyell, and Palisade. The Lyell and McClure are in Yosemite National Park. The Conness Glacier is right at the border to the north, and the Palisade Glacier is in the John Muir Wilderness in the Sierra Nevada. And they studied how much of the glacial bedrock was exposed to cosmic rays, which they said is an indicator of how long the bedrock was buried beneath the ice. Previously, they thought that after the Ice Age, these glaciers kind of would come and go at some points, would be bigger, would be smaller, maybe disappearing entirely at some points. But now the data suggests that California's glaciers have existed continually since the end of the Ice Age, throughout the Holocene more than 11,700 years ago. I know, Trevor, you're thinking 11,780. But within 2 centuries, these glaciers have been really chipped away to fractions of the size they once were. That's according to the study. The summer temperatures in the Sierra Nevada have shot up over the last century by 2 degrees Celsius or 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit, and all 4 California glaciers are projected to melt away entirely by 2100. What's it matter? Well, I mean, it's a sign of the times for sure, but also shrinking glaciers impact freshwater storage, river runoff, and biodiversity. So it's a thing. They say that glaciers in California are a canary in the coal mine for the impacts of climate change. Yeah. One of the uplifting things that was noted in this study is the evidence is showing that cutting greenhouse gas emissions can have a direct effect on slowing down or stopping the ice melt. The researcher said people have shown the pathway that we choose determines how many glaciers survive. Thanks for the write-up on that one in SF Gate if you're interested in reading more about it. I know I'm probably getting late, huh? But I do want to talk about how about we talk about the October sky? Look at that picture. Ooh, that's pretty colors, pretty lights. Here's some of the things we have coming up in the night sky in October in our long, crisp autumn nights with a fuzzy blanket and a pair of binoculars or a telescope, or what is it called, the Google app that you point at the sky and it will tell you what you're looking at? Yeah. We've got 2 meteor showers coming up in October. We've got a super harvest moon October 6th. That's exciting. Already the moon looks big and low in the sky. But this harvest moon has extra significance. It is the harvest moon, the title given to the full moon closest to the autumn equinox. And it usually takes place in September, but 2025 is one of the uncommon years where we get it in October. And because of that, the harvest moon shining on the night of Monday, October 6th, into the morning of Tuesday, October 7th, will be super cool. A lunar standout. Then, don't look away, because October 8th and 9th, we have the Draconid meteor shower. And that will peak Wednesday night, October 8th, into the early morning of Thursday, October 9th. It's a minor shower. They say maybe it produces about 10 meteors an hour. It could be that the nearly full moon could get in the way as far as brightening the sky, but we might be able to see something. The Draconids, by the way, are best viewed in the evening hours before midnight, and they can appear anywhere in the sky. Then later in the month, we have the Orionid meteor shower, October 22nd into the 23rd. That one's called one of the best meteor showers of autumn, so it gets top billing. Very good. And this year is expected to be a good year for the viewing because the meteor shower coincides with the new moon, so the sky will be extra dark, especially compared to the Draconids earlier in October. You could see 20 shooting stars per hour, according to the American Meteor Society. So that's pretty cool. I love that. Do I have time for another story? Ah, how about, okay, we'll end the story with the end of the universe. Scientists are predicting the universe will end in a big crunch. We started, they say, in a big bang. At the end, when we check out, it'll be a big old crunch. This is a study recently published in the Journal of Cosmology and Astroparticle Physics. Just a little light reading for the weekend, The newly reviewed dark energy data seems to conflict with a theory posed in 1922 by astronomer Alexander Friedman. The new hypothesis is that the cosmos will conclude with a big crunch. And if that is correct, we're nearly halfway there. So, according to most modern physics, the universe began about 13.8 billion years ago with the Big Bang. But we have a kind of more unclear situation when it comes to the fate of the cosmos. For a while now, most researchers agreed on calculations indicating that the universe could continue to infinitely expand outwards in all directions. But in more recent years, some experts have said, no, maybe not. More, maybe we'll have a long freeze or a big rip. At Cornell University, they say no. They've recently introduced new information on dark energy acquired from multiple observatories into a cosmic model, featuring what they say is known as the cosmological constant, first described by Einstein in 1917. The constant, originally a coefficient intended to counterbalance gravitational force in a static universe. Someone somewhere understands what that means. Although abandoned after Edward Hubble confirmed the universe's ongoing expansion, physicists later revived the cosmological constant with both positive and negative valuations depending on their story. And for the last 20 years or so, most experts have come down in favor of the positive constant scenario, saying that the universe is accelerating and that it is expanding and it's getting faster. But the new data seems to indicate that the cosmological constant is negative and that the universe will actually end in a big crunch. They used the dark energy survey and the dark energy spectroscopic instrument, and both projects indicate that if 68% of all mass and energy, collectively termed dark matter, originates from a pure cosmological constant, that instead of confirming this, it now appears there are other forces at work, mysterious forces that we don't really understand very much, but they experimented in a hypothetical, extremely low mass particle entering into their cosmic equations. They said it would have initially behaved as a cosmological constant in the universe's earliest eons, but it no longer operates the same way. And because of that, the constant has shifted into a negative. And if it is negative, then the universe will collapse eventually. And here's this model that will tell you when the universe collapses and how it collapses. So if they're right, the universe will reach its maximum size, which is about 11 billion years from now. And at that point, physics will dictate if it begins to retract toward a single point. Then, after 33 billion years of existence, the universe will just squash itself into nothingness. So, another hypothesis. What happens when there's nothingness? Is it nothing? Or is nothing something? Deep thoughts for the weekend ahead, my people? I don't know. Always something to think about here on the After Party Live. Thank you for being here and sharing the weird stories with me. Hopefully we took your mind off some of the politics. I know we had a little bit of it in the movies, but sometimes it's not to be, you can't avoid it, right? Thank you to everyone who contributes to the show, whether you're sending me stories or messages. I love hearing from you. Truly, truly do. Thank you so much, Wes, for the $5 today. Wes kicked in via the PayPal link, and that is in the show description and in the About tab as well. It's where you can find it. Rhonda A kicks in as well. So does Wes from yesterday. Gretchen L. Thank you guys so much for keeping the show going financially. Really appreciate your help and your support. Please click the like button. Please click subscribe if you haven't already. And if you are watching in the after hours trading, which is when the show is not live, but in its recorded version, please leave a comment. I love to see what you guys have to say, and I usually click the heart and click the like and sometimes respond if I can, but the comments elevate the show and get it passed to other people as well. So thank you for all that you do, and go forth, make it the very best weekend you can, and I'll see you right back here on YouTube on Monday. Bye.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.